Good morning, good morning. So what's different? What's different? Okay, what's the job this morning? Good morning, gang. The regular crowd is here, obviously. Got to come down from the tree. I don't know what you're talking about, but whatever. The backdrop's different. The landlady came over the other day. You know, we've been this thing back and forth between the landlady. She came. We had a good conversation yesterday. I know, not deep business conversation. We buying the building and stuff is still not even remotely. I know, the conversation is not even possible. She came over with a few friends, ladies. They've got a little ladies group. You know, they go for coffee and stuff like this, and they came over. And one of her friends is the lady who provides our curtains. So it was time to switch. It's autumn coming up now. So she took away the previous one that she brought, and we installed this one. So she trusts us not to ask for rent cut. Actually, we talked about that. I know it wasn't a business conversation. It was about this and chatting. But I got really lucky because just as they were here, there was a truck next door unloading kimonos. I mean, loading kimonos. You know, the shop next door, the kimono shop, is finished. They're finished. And at the same time, there's the big sign across the street on the real estate office says for rent. And she hadn't known about either of these. So they're sitting here, I gave them their tea, and I said, oh, by the way, come in, let me show you something. And I showed her these too. And she really now understands that this street and this area and retail is in trouble, And then so I went all the way. I showed her my spreadsheet from last year and this year and showed her we're down 43% and we're still alive, we're doing well, we're all working at home, the building is empty, and nobody else was here. Aoyama was off and it was only me in the entire building. So she got these messages. The area is decimated. Dave is down 43%. The building is not being used. So as I said, the ladies were here, so we were just lightly chatting, but we're primed for the next step. So I'm happy about this change because I told you before, you know, when I carve with my knife here, when I start carving in a minute, you'll see. When I carve with my knife, as it happens, the particular angle, I look down, the angle of the bevel reflects from over there, and I see a red stripe. And it just looks like blood. And I think, oh, have I cut myself again? Oh, no, it's the curtain. Carve. Oh, have I cut myself? No, it's the curtain. It just goes on and on and on. You break all day long. Yeah, it was a good little conversation. But funny thing, I don't want to make fun of her. She's a really, really, really nice little lady. She comes up to about, like, just above my waist almost. She's a really, really nice lady. And she's been thinking, what can I do to help David? What, you know, because she wants us to stay or whatever, you know. She's what can I do to help Dave? And she brought over a couple of folders from her collection. I've told you before about her. Her grandfather was a woodblock printer. He ran a workshop for carving and printing. They made senshafada, they made the little, what they call pochibukuro. They made casual, small, collectible items. It was that kind of workshop. He's, of course, gone centuries ago, decades ago. But she brought over a little album of stuff that was left from their workshop in the 1930s or whatever it was. And she said, these will be great. Why don't you make these? And these will be great. This can revive the business here. And what she's talking about is the things called pochibukuro. They're little envelopes for putting money in. When you give a coin to your granddaughter at New Year's time, you put the coin inside this envelope and give it to them, you know. And when she was young, this was a big deal. It was a regular business. Their whole workshop made a living making these. But that was in 1930 or something, you know. And I cannot make a living here selling little printed envelopes for 50 yen each. I would need to sell 10,000 of them per month. So, okay, anyway, let's get to work. Do I know who will replace the kimono shop? No. And I spent an hour. I wasted time last night. I spent an hour, not an hour, whatever, a bunch of time last night, searching through real estate offices to see if I could find the listing for the place, because I want to know how much the new price is. The previous tenant who left told me he had been paying 600,000 yen per month for the first 2 floors. That's about $6,000. But I couldn't find the listing, which tells me that perhaps it's already booked and somebody else is coming in. Anyway, we're talking too much. Let's get started. This is the Dragonfly block. And, okay, the Dragonfly is up. It's for sale. It's up and running. The girls have started printing. And during the test printing, I've got it here. Here's the copy that I scanned. This is the copy that's on the website. And during the test printing, it turns out that I had combined a gray overtone for the dragonfly body. I had combined a gray overtone for the dragonfly body to make the darker area and also do the wings at the same time. And they've changed their ideas. When they did gray, it turned out the dragonfly was just too dirty. They want to do a teal overtone on the body. It's a light green base. We have a light green base block, and they want to put a teal overtone, but we don't want teal on the wings. So to make this sample, they masked it off. They rubbed it this way and rubbed this way. But of course, for producing these things in the hundreds, that's a huge waste of time. So they want me to cut an extra block for the dragonfly body. Well, actually, they asked either one. I cut an extra block for the wings and cut them off here, or cut an extra block for the dragonfly body and cut it off here. And it turns out I have unused space on one of the other blocks, so that's what we're going to do. I will take an impression now from the key block again. Better zoom out a bit, I think, so you can see what's going on. I'll take an impression from the key block and we'll carve another block for this dragonfly. It'll mean their printing goes up one impression, but no big deal. Dragonflies one, so. The tobacco smoke, yeah. I don't know about the block. I know it was a huge problem for us when we started sending prints out to outside printers. They all smoke. They all smoke like crazy. They all smoke permanently while the work is going on. You've seen the various video programs and stuff we've shown here, and every single one is the same thing. The guy works, sits back, puff, away we go. They all smoke, and the prints reek of it. Now, Kubota-san specifically, really, really nice guy, but just non-stop all day long. TV on, tobacco on, get to work. But we made a deal with him. We gave him an ultimatum. If he wanted the work, he would have to switch. So the prints don't smell of smoke at all when they come back from Kubota-san. And on the times I visited him, and that's the way he does it. He takes a break in the next room for a smoke or on the balcony, comes back and works for a half an hour or whatever his timetable is, then smokes again. But a block, I can't imagine that the smoke would stay on a block. I can't get that. I mean, the guy's smoking, it's a piece of wood. Maybe the tiny top surface might absorb something, but I can't imagine it would give them off. So that's a new one for me. You sure it wasn't the packaging? When you opened it, the box, it had been packed in a house where there was a smoker? Ooh, it would help to have a Baron to do this today. Oh, you're talking about a print. Okay, I misread the block. I'm sorry. I misread this. I'm sorry. You get a print. I would think, the guy you bought it from is the smoker, I guess. I'm sorry. Sorry, I misunderstood. I'm sorry. I'm trying to read back and forth. But yeah, woodblock print is paper, and it's mulberry paper. It's fairly absorbent. So yeah. But whether it's from the original printer all that time ago, I wouldn't want to call that one way or the other. I got a funny experience yesterday, 2 days ago, after the stream. There's lots of people who watch the stream not live because it's the wrong time of day for them or whatever, of course. So there's a few people who watch it and then will send me a comment in an email or something about what they've seen. And I got a funny one the other day. I guess it was after Thursday's stream, or it might have been Monday, I don't remember, whatever. After Thursday's stream, later in the day, I got an email from somebody that said, "Hey Dave, this will be fun for you to watch. It's a Twitch streamer, a wood carver in New Zealand." I'm like, okay, that sounds cool. And it's a guy in New Zealand, and it's some kind of, I don't know the word you're supposed to use these days. It was a Maori carver, the guy who, indigenous peoples, or whatever the current word is we're allowed to use, I don't know. And he was carving something. I guess that's his Twitch stream. He carves, big, large wood carvings from trees and stuff. But the reason the contributor sent the link, he said, this will be fun. There's a wood carver in New Zealand, and a guest dropped in on his stream. Like a physical guest came in the door and dropped into the stream. And it was funny, it was the Prime Minister. So I don't know if it was a prearranged or what or not. It looked sort of like a bit like a drop-in, but it all might have been prearranged, I don't know. So the guy's got this Twitch stream wood carving, and in comes the country's Prime Minister. Okay, how much room do I have up down here? Tell you what, let's make a smaller Kento here at the edge. Yeah, the Prime Minister is a she. Did I say he? Of course it's a she. I forget her name. Begins with an A. Seems like it's like a country like Canada, whatever, whatever. It's a very egalitarian type mood, or at least they like to put themselves across as that way. So I would believe that the Prime Minister would just be a lady who could, drop in and chat for a while. Here in Japan, that would not happen. There'd be 15 black cars on the street and just whatever. Like a very tiny Canada. Yeah, the virus thing they had down there, of course, it seems that they did, quote, good job about this. But again, when you're that far away from the rest of the world, and I guess it makes things a little bit easier. I don't know. The problem for a place like New Zealand now is that because so few people have been exposed to it, there's zero immunity at all, of course. What have we got? They're still working. These are the construction guys. This is the crepe shop. I'm a bit surprised it's taking so long. The truck, I don't think, will be there too long. They'll be unloading and then taking off, I believe. I should have cut this before I made the block wet, idiot boy. It's difficult to cut wet wood. Okay, looks good. Mini peel. Do we do this? Oh, might have been helpful to get on camera. Sorry about that. Oops, oops, oops. Might have been helpful to get on camera. Sorry about that. Clearly talking too much this morning. So. There is again a lot of stuff going on here. You know, the last couple of days have just been just nuts, just nuts. Just nuts. We're planning on next year's series. You know, this is the peak time for the planning and preparation for next year's series. I know. And because I don't know what I've talked about for next year's series, but one of the changes that we have made is that for the first time in, I think it's 4 years, we've changed the format. I know, it's a bit of a long story. The recent prints we're making, the pilgrimage prints and the Journeys in Japan series, they came from the same format as the portrait series, which we started back in 2014. And we want as much as possible to organize things here in standard sizes. You know, when we have prints in a standard size, the packaging is the same. They go in the shop in the same shelves. The postage system is the same, stuff like that. So we want to unify as much as possible. We can't make all our prints the same size, but whatever, we unify the subscription prints into various sizes. And when I set up the portrait series, and this would be in 2014, we took one of our standard paper dimensions that we were getting from Iwano-san, figured out how we could cut a specific size of prints with a minimum amount of waste, and then do it from there. So the base for us was the washi size. And the particular sheet we had was whatever it was. It was 57 by 780. So I split it into 6 by 3, giving margins at the edge, and we had 13.5 wide and 17 high, and that gave me 3 or 4 centimeters at the edge to play with, clips for the sizing and stuff like that. So that was the base size for the portrait series, which moved on to the legendary Lute, which went to the Japan Journey and through to the pilgrimage. The last couple of years we've had a huge amount of trouble with it. The paper, I don't want to complain about the paper again. This is not a Dave and a nagging stream. But the paper's changed in a way that the amount that we can use, the usable portion has been shrinking. The paper size is the same. It's still 57 centimeters tall, but the edges are so messy and wider and messier, and stuff is in the way that we can no longer get 51 centimeters out of it. So 17, 17, 17. We've struggled. And you probably have seen it without knowing it. Some of you get our prints. The edges of the Japan Journey series have been trouble. So it was time for us to rethink. When we prepare now for the series for next year, let's rethink again. That size is not going to work with that kind of paper size. It also would have been a good idea to like color in what I'm supposed to be carving to show. It might have been a good idea to do that. I'm supposed to be replicating this part of the gray block, and I didn't write it down. What I should have done, I shouldn't have printed from the key block. I should have just printed from this gray block. Let's redo it. Let's redo it. Let's redo it. don't know. I've heard the name Homer Simpson, but I don't quite know what you mean when you say a Homer Simpson moment. I'm sorry. My ignorance is showing through here. Let's do this again. What I need is, I need a piece of paper. Another micropeel. This time I'll do it on camera. Okay, step one. Step one. Step one. Touch it first, so I know the area we need. In other words, it's going to be that area. Step two, put the Gampi on. This is a bit too big, but whatever. It's a scrap left over from before. I have, sitting right next to me, this is the Spray 55, and we're supposed to do this outside, but if I just look the other way for a minute. Test. That will be enough to be my guide to show. That's all that's left of it. Plop. All right, let's do this again. Funny, my brain just goes on autopilot to make a color transfer use print from the key block. Of course, Dave knows this. He's been doing it for 40 years to make a color transfer you print from the key block. But that's not what we're doing today. So. We're on camera this time, right? The spray. That's what I get for spraying too strongly there. Okay, here we go. Like in Simpsons context, I've heard of it. I get it. It's an iconic TV program. Is it called an anime or a cartoon? I don't know. In my days, those were called cartoons. I don't know what the current language is. But no, I've never seen it. I'm sorry. Not to be pretentious about it, but no. Okay, there we go. What do we call this? This is not a peel. It's a peel back, is it? A rub back? I don't know. What's the word for this? There we go. Okay, let's get carving this thing. No, it's not the vacuum something. It's another construction somewhere out there. It might be the crepe guys. I don't know. I've got the door open. Should I turn off the outside mic? Is it disrupting there? I can't hear. That's the outside mic is now off. I don't know what it is. It's a sort of a hum, sort of a grind. I don't know. Is it okay? I'm going to put it back on, I guess, whatever, 28. It is a little wet. It's trying to rain, but it's not having any success. The ground is wet. You can see the shadow. The camera is in the doorway. Are people walking with umbrellas? I don't know. Okay, so we're taking away the wings. And we're leaving these gray patterns. That's the vacuum cleaner show. Now she's started. I can't say I've never watched TV. There was a TV in the house when I was a kid sometimes, but not always. I think my parents went through a thing where they were against it for a while, and I can't say I've never watched TV. That wouldn't be true, because we did have a TV for a number of years. And there's pictures of us in Canada when we got there, 1957, 1958, with this little tiny little box thing in one corner of the room. So absolutely there was a TV, but since I left home when I was like, 18, I've never ever owned a TV or lived in a house that's had a TV. So, and when we had our own kids, that was nothing. We absolutely had no TV in the house. Is that truck going to stay there all the time? Yeah. Should I move the camera the other way? Tommy, I saw Tommy yesterday. It's funny, you know, we haven't seen him for a month and I'd forgotten about him. But yesterday evening, the place is long getting shut down. The bars are starting to open, and the same guy. And he came along the other way. He came along the street you see now, and he's chatting. So he is still in business. He's still at it. But at their prices, was it $95 for a person for like an hour or something? At those prices, I don't know. This is the weekend now here in Tokyo, so our order processing system is quiescent. The orders are still coming in online. People are ordering stuff in the shopping cart, ping by PayPal. The orders come in, but there's no order processing going on. The shipping ladies don't work on the weekends, and Cameron's off on the weekends. So if anybody has put an order in there, there's no thank you letter coming through yet until Monday and stuff. I don't have any totals. I can't see how things have been going. We put that mailing out yesterday morning, 8 o'clock or so in the morning. And that's when we find out, is this Dragonfly print going to be popular or not this year? And it is popular. It is popular. It's too early to say if it's going to be, owl type material, but it is definitely popular. It's really happy to see this. So the printers, as soon as I get back, Rei-chan is coming today. She starts her first batch today. That's why I have to be doing this morning, because she's going to start printing. Actually, she wouldn't need this block today. She'll start with the key block and then maybe something else. But she's going to start with a batch of, 100 or so. And then we'll pass it around. Ayumi-san will do a batch. Ishikawa-san will probably do a batch. And there's always this question for us of how much variability to allow. And when we were having the discussions before I put it up on the web yesterday, they had made a bunch of different versions. We've got like 20 different versions of this here. Darker background, lighter background, green background, brown background, blue background, all different kinds of stuff. And lots of them look good, but which one to do? We can't have 20 different versions of the print. We have to settle on what to do, scan it, put it on the website, so when people buy it, the print they get looks pretty much the same as the one we're advertising, some of the printers here for this one, Ishikawa and Ami-san, they really, really had, no, it shouldn't be like that, it should be like this. So I'm a bit, I'm going to have to watch them carefully, because if I don't watch them really carefully, they will sort of gradually slide the pigment over to the way they want to do it, And we had this problem a couple of years ago. We have one of our prints, it's gone now because the blocks are worn out. It's a print of a crane in front of a setting sun. And at one point, one of them said, no, I think the background should be darker. I don't remember the exact conversation. And I said, sure, okay, whatever. This is a reproduction of a reproduction. The original, there's no original anyway, so just, sure, go for it. Do whatever you like. As long as it looks like something similar to what's on the website, And that was a mistake. She turned in a print that was really, really quite different. And okay, tiny bit of noise here. Those old timers here know what's going on. I'm about to do 2 or 3 minutes of making noise with my mallet. No Bob Ross here for the next little while. We're going to be making noise, and then after that I will switch back to quiet mode. So headphone people, please be careful. That's another question. Say, it looked beautiful in the email, the embossing must be amazing. And I have a bit of a problem here now. What we've been doing is scanning and photographing our prints and trying to make them look exactly the same as the real one. So when people buy it, they open the package and get the same thing. Now with that crane print that I mentioned before, we did get some people who had seen it in the shop. They said, can I take 2 of those? We take 2, put them in their bag, and away they go. They don't actually open the one that we give them in their bag. They get home, they send an email saying, Dave, that's not, I saw the print on the wall. This one is missing something. It doesn't have that embossing. And they've seen it on the wall under a nice side light, and when they open it up, it's in some room with 6,000 lights, and it's a medical center or a classroom or something. So we're nervous about this one, because I photographed this yesterday really nicely. This is the same one that is on the net. It's the same sheet. You can tell from the little bit of a crease at the bottom here. So this is the same one, and it looks really, really, really spectacular embossing on the net, but here, when people see it in real life, well, it is embossed, and it does have the same delicate rain. It's the same physical print. But I'm nervous now because our photography is getting so good, my photography here is getting so good, that we're moving into a situation where we're shooting prints and they look better than real life. And that's not so good. That can only lead to disappointment when people open their package. So do we put a message in every print? Warning, here's how to look at your print. I don't know. John, that's right. That's the core of John's business. So, God, John's business is make it look better than real life. That's right, isn't it? So, serving suggestion. Okay, let me do some banging for a minute. You guys take care of yourself. I'll be back in a few minutes here. Serving suggestion. got to be this way now. Backwards grain. Grain in this corner is backwards both ways. No fun. Oh. Oh, how was I asked? Good morning. Ishikawa-san is here. She's printing today. She's printing one of the prints in the yokai series. They're selling well again. She's doing a back number. She's doing the bento yokai. I forget what it's called. The one that hides in a bento box. Okay, this grain does not want to cooperate here, so let's leave that part of it. Okay. Catching up here. Watch that Kento. You mean the Hikitsuke? Kento, whatever. Yeah. I'm on it. Thank you. Missing the conversation, but whatever. Back in my day, the grain went backwards, both ways. Is he leaving? No, different truck. Not much of a view here today, I'm sorry. When I put the red one on this piece of wood, I laid it down before gluing it down and looked at the wood, and the grain at this part of the block was sort of straighter and smoother and okay. And the grain on this corner of the block, you can sort of see it maybe, the grain lines are twisted, and it's really quite hard. There would have been a knot in the tree somewhere near here. So I avoided that corner when I did my, round one of this. But now we're just trying to save wood here, so it has to be used. It doesn't affect the printing, but this corner, the grain is every which way, and it's difficult to clear out. So how's our time? We're okay, right? 8:50, no problem. We have a show and tell today. We have one that I think you will really enjoy. It's a kind of a little item, and we'll show it, and that's it. It's over. But we'll look at it a few times. I know. It's from Takamisao, and it's something that was published. This would be 1960s, I guess. It's a really nice little item, and I'm going to show it to you. It's not for sale. It's just from our collection. But when I show it to you, everybody is going to want one. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it when we get to it. It's a kind of item that we get demand for, requests for all the time, and we cannot fulfill such requests. But I'll show you the one we've got here, and it will be fun. Actually, having said that kind of a hint, that's probably enough for certain of our older viewers, or regular viewers, to actually recognize what it is that I'm going to show you. You already want one. So Karen really wants one of these. Absolutely, she really wants one. I'm not hyping anything. I'm not selling this. We don't sell this product. We don't have this product in our catalog. So I'm not hyping anything. But actually, we're bumping into something here. It's fun. I didn't really think about it until this came up just now. But when I lived with my kids, when I had kids, there are kids in the house, and my two girls, whatever, everybody talks about his own kids the same way. My two girls were, I think, normal, bright, inquisitive kids. They've gone out to be, interesting adults who have made good lives for themselves so far. So anyway, when I lived with them, I felt they were good, smart, interesting kids. But I felt also that it was one of my jobs as a dad, as a parent. You can't guide your kids in terms of making them do something. You are going to be a doctor, whatever. That's just not even, whatever, just not even remotely anything you want to talk about. But what I felt was that what I could guide my kids to is, I felt, if I could help make them into inquisitive people. When I say inquisitive people, I mean people that were, when they see the world around them, they don't just, oh yeah, what's next? They sort of try and think about how this works, or what's going on here, or where am I and what am I doing and what's going to happen next, and how can I work on this. Now, and I don't know, this may be just 100% under the control of our DNA. We have a particular strand of DNA that guides our thinking in a certain way to be inquisitive or not inquisitive, or maybe it comes from watching your parents do something, the environment around you, the way your teachers do this, blah, 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 blah. Now, I didn't know the answer to that. If it's DNA, then there's nothing I can do anyway. But if that's a abrogation of your parental, if you just think everything's DNA, I don't have to teach my kids anything, then that's pointless. So I took the assumption that it's perhaps not DNA, it's something that can be learned and trained. Anyway, long story short, the thing I'm just joking to you about now, we're going to do a show and tell, and you're going to like it, and just sort of semi-joking about it, teasing a little bit about it, but the idea you'd think about what's coming up and what's going to happen. And that's the kind of approach I took with my kids whenever we were walking outside or talking, or what's going to be for dinner or whatever. It was never a question of just dictating something, and it was never a question of, okay, what do you want for dinner? You always make it into I don't have language to express what I'm doing here, You try and make the process of doing this and thinking about this interesting. I'm failing at my description, and it's not even something that can clearly be perhaps described. I'm trying to just show the idea that there can be a certain way of thinking about stuff. I don't know. It would be a more useful conversation if one of my daughters was here and she could say, "I know, my dad's trying to say blah 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 blah." It's not just, we need a hint to guess about Chantal. It's not, I'm really not expressing myself very well today. It's only a half-formed idea in my head. It wasn't a question of guessing until you guess the answer right. That wasn't the point. It was just, that whatever it is you're going to be doing today with your kids, try and make it something that it was going to make it into a more active, a bit more interactive, a bit more you're in control. It's not a guessing game. Will you get the answer? That's not the point of it at all. It's, I guess interactive is the word, just to make it, rather than something that's one way, I will show you something. I would like in some way to make it so that the people at the other end are more involved with the activity that's going on. I guess this is what I'm trying to get at. I'm sorry to be vague and run around here, That truck, sorry about that. I'd hope that truck would just drop stuff off and then go away, but instead he's just stuck there, so sorry about that. We win some, we lose some. Oh, my mother is here, is she? What's this? Guess I'd better stay out of this one. What's this? No, I'd really, because this is a really important, again, the conversations come out of nowhere here, but Dave finds himself to be an inquisitive kind of person, and that's the interesting question. Did my mother build this in me, or is it DNA? I'm very much, whatever, it's an open question, but my mother was a very, hands-on. At the time I was born, my mother was at home taking care of me. That was her function. Dad was off doing the, playing music and making a living, and my mother's function in life at that time was to bring up this kid in the best way she possibly could. But whether the curiosity and stuff like that comes internally from the kid, or whether it's encouraged and created and done by the parent, is a really interesting question. My mother's quite here. Nature and nurture, so. We know that, but. Okay, but Mom, now that the question is on the table there, those of you who don't know, by the way, the lady that's called It Is Hopeless, this is my mother here watching in and taking part. But Mom, then directly to you the question then, if I'm obviously an inquisitive kind of, person, do you think you helped create that? When I was 6 months older, 1 year older, 2 years old, did you ask questions or guide or point me out to say, what do you think about this? I don't know, because I don't remember those years. This is an honest question. How much of this inquisitiveness do you think comes from the parental influence? Yeah, 3 kids. There's 3 siblings. Myself, a younger brother, and a younger sister. So. My mother's going to taught you to be curious about things. So, again, how much of that can be taught and how much is inborn, I don't know. But yes, if it's the parent's job, I guess, is to encourage that and push that as much as possible. And if it's in there, that will help. If it's not in there, maybe you can help build some of it, and maybe it can't. But anyway, you got to try. So. And I remember with my daughters, sometimes I would push this sort of thing a bit too far. Clearly, if you push it too far and it gets pedantic, you're in trouble. I remember we're walking, the 3 of us are walking, and they're like, I forget, they're 8 years old or 6 years old or 10 years old or something like that. We're out walking near our house, and there was a gasoline stand, what's it called? What do you call it in other countries? Gas station, whatever. And these big tanker trucks bring the gasoline and dump it into the tanks underneath. And I forget the specific thing. There was this gas tanker there, and it was obviously doing its thing with the hoses. And I said, just hang on a sec. And there's a hose and a hose and a hose and something. And I couldn't understand what was going on. There was a hose at the top and a hose at the bottom. And he climbed upstairs and did something. And I'm like, just a minute, can you? What's he doing? What's going on? Why is there one hose there and one hose here? And they're like, Dad, stop trying to train us. I'm like, what are you talking about? He says, we know your plan. You're just trying to get us to solve this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, just a minute, that's not true. I cannot figure out what's going on here. And they half believed me and half didn't believe me, because they were, Dad's trying his tricks again to make us think and all that kind of stuff, And I'm like, hey. Actually, I don't remember the answer. Did we ever figure out what the guy was doing? I don't know, but I remember the episode, and them laughing at me. They were on board with this, but obviously, little girls, if they think their dad is being manipulative, then they will really clap back. They will clap down, shut down. Of course. Dad, don't start that again. We had fun. Hontonay, we had fun. I miss them, Hontonay, I miss them. So much conversation, I can't keep up. I'm sorry. Again, all I can say is I will read this. I'll have a cup of coffee at lunchtime with my whatever I'm going to have, soup today. I can't catch it all, I'm sorry. So. No, I mean, you're a terrible parent trying to make kids think. I'm telling that episode in truth, but also, it's no lie. They were laughing. There was no hostility or whatever involved in this kind of thing. We really got along well. They liked me and respected me, and I had the same view of them. These were a couple of young girls who were very, really quite confident of themselves as they were growing up. I think they got a good amount of praise, but not too much praise. It's this endless, perfect praise. Oh, that's wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. That's to me, that's destructive, and we never did that. I never did that. But they did know. They got praise. Well, it's all coming from me. I think I found a good balance in that kind of stuff. Praise when it was really necessary. どうも、ありがとうございます。どうも。久保田からですか？はい。久保田からですね。はい。久保田、いや、町田って今、熊谷。熊谷。そうか。うちのもの、本当に？木版館？なってますよ。OK、はい。知らない人から。OK、はい、はい、わかりました。どうも。はい、どうも。はい。An unknown package. I thought it was a prince coming from Kubota-san, but he says no. No idea what it could be. I don't know. These days, I'm not buying anything. The auction stuff now, it's almost pretty much shut down for me. That little roll of pictures I got last week, that was a $10 item. I can do that, but I can't make any more substantial purchases than that these days at all. So you're not going to see a whole bunch of new Yahoo auction stuff here at all in the near future. Luckily, the collection is what it is, and over the past 35 years, it's grown pretty well. So there's lots to look at. But you're not going to see very many. Oh, here's a package from an auction I grabbed just the other day. It looks like a fun conversation today. I can't take part in this. Our shop is top on your places to visit while in Tokyo. Our shop is closed. We are not here. The shutter, as you can see, is halfway down. When I'm finished this stream, it's coming all the way down. We have at the moment no shop. I'm sorry. We were first closed by the order of the Metropolitan Government, and since then that order has been lifted. We could open if we want, but there are no people in Tokyo who want what we have, so the shop is closed. But you're traveling, are you? Visit while around Tokyo. I mean, presumably, if you're talking about visiting in the future, then in the future we will be open. Once visitors are allowed to come back to Japan, at that point we will open the shop again, of course. And it will just be a shop. There's no appointments, it's just a shop. Check the website to see what's going on, hours and stuff like that. But at the moment, because the country is closed, our shop is also closed. So. Okay, I'm finished carving on this. It's ready to go upstairs. Oh, no, I'm not finished, because what I have to do, I have to now remove that area from the gray block. Soka, I'm not finished. Too much talk, not enough work. This is uncomfortable to watch. Why? So this is now duplicated. The dragonfly body for the teal color is now duplicated. So we can now just get rid of it here. This is not all that rare for us to do this, you know. And you don't see this process for all of our prints. You'll see me finish a block set, and I say something like, okay, this goes upstairs for testing now, and the girls upstairs test it, and quite frequently it comes back to me for making some adjustments. So what I'm doing here today is not rare or unusual or difficult or, oh my God, they've made a mistake. It's just actually part of the process, you know. We carve a set of blocks that we think will make the print we want. And if it doesn't, then we get to work. This will just bring us, just let me finish this off, it'll bring us to show and tell time. It's good, good, good. Worked out well today. Okay, done, almost. I've left this one a bit flush. This is a bit too big, and maybe we'll have to trim it back, but I don't want to trim too much now because that's a disaster. So we'll leave it like that. She will do one more test on this, and we're good to go. So there we go. One block has been split into two. There used to be a dragonfly body here, and the dragonfly body has now been moved to here. One block split into two. Because what I thought was all going to be gray has needed to be two different colors. Okay, here we go, here we go, here we go. 9:15, look at that, perfect timing. Have I ever used City Sweeper brush steel to make chisels? I don't have any idea what you're talking about, I'm sorry. City Sweeper brush steel. I've got no idea, I'm sorry. Is this some very heavy duty kind of metal? I don't know, I'm sorry. Okay, somebody's leaving early, okay, no problem. Okay, I mentioned about show and tell. I mentioned show and tell. It's a little book we've got. This is from Takamizawa. We have 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 of these. I can show you a new one every day of the week for a couple of different weeks. I mentioned before that everybody wants these. They're really interesting. They're interesting to look at. They're interesting to own. But they are completely, totally impractical for a woodblock workshop to make. What we're going to look at today is one of these Junjo Zuri. Here's your kanji training for the day. Ukiyo-e Junjo Zuri. Zuri is printing. Suri is printing, and Junjo is ordered. Ordered printing. And this is Suri no Rekishi to Gijutsu. Oh, here we are. It's translated. This is the Takamizawa Mokuhansha. This would have been published and made for tourists or so in about the 1960s. And it's showing the progression of colors building up on a print. And these are so cool. They are so fun to look at. They are so fun to study. For us in our work here, they are just done all cool, whatever. They're cool. Cool. We have one here that was published in, I think about the 1960s, when Takamizawa was still flourishing. And it's the same thing. Ukiyo-e Junjo Zuri. Suri no Rekishi to Gijutsu. Nice item. I have no idea what it would have sold for back in those days. It's done with a beautiful little cloth fabric cover. This is not woodblock printed. This is a normal cover. And Karen is saying she wants one, I want one, we all want one. But I cannot afford to produce these things. And we'll see why as it goes along. Nicely done. It's all English and Japanese. This one's totally English and Japanese. Let's get a good angle here. This also is a woodblock print. It's repurposed. Takamizawa published this print separately, and they will have used the same block for this. Japanese side first. And then is it easier just to let you read this yourself, or what do you think? It's introducing one of the prints. It's the Edo Hyakkei series. It's a series of 109 or 110 prints called 100 Views of Edo. 100 was a word that just meant lots. So you could have a series called 100 Views of Edo that has 109 prints. 119. I knew it had a 9 in it. 119 prints. And we've taken one of them here. And this is a place that doesn't exist in Tokyo anymore. And here we go. And this is the idea. This is now the Japanese traditional printing technique. Key block comes first. All the outlines come first. And people are really confused about this. If we print the key block first, doesn't it get covered up by the colors that come later? No, because the colors are all transparent. What happens next? And here we go. The first color block, actually it's just like a color. It's a color block similar to the one I just printed. A gray color block is printed, and when you combine the two, let me get rid of this. Let's put this out of the way a bit more. We don't need to see that truck. Let's put this down. Let's zoom in a bit more. And someone's asking, your wallet will hurt. This is not for sale. I'm not selling this. This is part of our collection. I'm sorry. And I don't remember how many colors, but let's find out. Next color up is a kind of a peach color, light brown. Actually, it's made from Bengara, the red ink that we call Bengara, which is Bengal red. And it's mostly just rust, iron oxide. So far, I don't think there's any overlays. We've got yellow, and the yellow is printing in its own area. These were cut out here. So at the moment, I don't think we've got any overlaps yet. Next one up, and here we are. There would be a block, and these are the same blocks that will be used later. You'll see them later. There's a roof and a river. I guess I should maybe start zooming in on some of these things. Let's have a look at this. That little area you see right there, over on the finished print, it turns out that it's a touch for the roof. And it starts adding a real three-dimensionality to these things. Now this thing is accordion style. It is accordion style. They're all the prints you see are pasted on the back to a piece of long paper, and then it's folded accordion style. So if we had the room here, we could lay this whole thing out on the floor or on the shelf, and you can see them one by one. Shall I move the camera to get those shadows out of the way? Hang on a sec, let's try that. Is that better? No shadows? And again, this would have been a whole piece of wood. It's a whole wood block, but only a very tiny part of it gets used. This is the way things are. We'll see this block again in a few minutes. Next one up, okay, a bit more dramatic now, green. And we've picked up a couple of kimono areas and, of course, the green, the bamboo. And here's where it starts to get difficult for the printer. All the little holes carved out have to be done properly with no filling in. And we have, I think now, we have our first overlay. Take a look at this kimono now here. This kimono is now a double color. It got a blue from this one, and let's skip back a page or two, there it is. It got a gray from the previous one. So here's our first sample now of a blue block and a gray block, and one coming up to be a blue-gray. Ukiyo-e did this to some extent, but not all that dramatically. And these prints, they're glued. No, they're glued just at the corners. If I put my finger, let me zoom out a bit more. I'm going to put my finger inside here. So the woodblock print is on top of my finger, and the accordion paper is behind it. Rage, somebody's raiding. I'm sorry, I don't know who you are, what you are. Welcome, welcome. Thanks for dropping by. It's glued to a paper. I don't know if it's acidic or not. This looks like a nice clean white paper. It might be terrible paper, it might be not so bad. This is only about, it's only about 60 years old now, so I don't know. It hasn't done so badly yet. Another sky block. Another block with snow in it. Where we go, building up, building up. This one now is the same block as the previous one. This block printed gray for the sky. The printer would have used the same block now with a gradation on top to add the gradation texture. And the same block again. Let's go back now. There's 3 pages with the same piece of wood. You can see what's happening here. This part has now been printed again with a bit of a purple color. So you now see the sky in 3 tones. Gray all over, purple from the bottom, black from the top. Red highlight. I don't think this overlaps on anything else. It's just a couple of highlights. We've got some tiny ones, part of the clothing, the obi, I guess. It's a waistband. We do have an overlap. Let's skip back here. If we go right back about step 3, I forget where it was. Just a second, please. If we go back here to the yellow, they've printed the yellow on some of the clothing and the umbrellas and in this cartouche box. And let's flip ahead now. The red is printing in the cartouche box, but they want the idea that the snow is falling in front of it. That's interesting. I never noticed that before. The snow shouldn't fall in the cartouche, but there it is. So there's yellow behind this, giving it a bit more of a vermilion tone. The red is a clean red, and now it's a bit more orangey. We're not done yet. There's a few more. Now this is listed as one impression, but this wouldn't actually be done as one impression. It would be done probably twice. There might be printers who can do this all at once, flipping their brush. You'd get a vertical brush and rub it this way, flip, and then flip it over and do it the other side. But I wouldn't even dream of trying that. And there we go. And is that it? Yes, that's the end of it. Now, I said at the beginning that everybody wants these things. Why don't we make them to sell? Normally, to make a print like this, did anybody count how many we were? Maybe was it 14 impressions. To make a print like this, we need one piece of paper and 14 impressions. No problem, we can do that. We amortize the cost of printing with that. But to make this book, we don't need one piece of paper. If it's 14 impressions, we need 28 pieces of paper. And we don't need 14 impressions, we need 14 factorial impressions. 14, 13, plus 12, plus 11, plus 10, plus 9, plus 8. And if you want to do it this way as well, every single impression on the print has to be done for this one as well. So this has the blue, the green, the gray, the sky, the this. It has all 14 here. All 14 have to be replicated. 13 and 1, 12 and 1, 11 and 1, 10 and 1. You do the mathematics. It's just be incredibly, incredibly, incredibly expensive to take on. How could they afford to do this in the old days? It's the same old story. It's a time when the dollar and the yen were a very, very different level. This is post-war, so Japan wasn't a third world country anymore, but it was in a hole. It was digging itself out of a hole. Craftsmen were cheap, dollars were gold. And that imbalance between dollars and yen is what made this sort of thing possible. We've got upstairs here in Nome, I guess I've got maybe a dozen different ones of this, smaller ones, larger ones, all different kinds of them. Well, a couple of dozen, I guess. And they're hugely interesting for us, for study, and they're just good fun to look at. And we would love to be able to produce such a thing, but this would be, you tell me, a few $100. There's just no way we could be able to afford to make such a thing. But they're great, great fun. There is no current price. These things are not for sale anywhere. None of the publishers can afford to make these. What it sold for back then, I don't know. If it was US dollars, it would have been $2, $5, $10. I don't know. I'm sorry. I haven't a clue. Someone's correcting my math. 14 plus 15 divided by 2 goes all the way down. 15, 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Doubled, because you print it on the left-hand side, and then 28 sheets of paper. Whatever. Is that not what factorial? Is factorial multiplicative? Okay, I'll cast my word. But anyway, you know the idea. So there it is. We've got a bunch more of these. If you want to see some more, maybe just send me a list or send me an email or something. We've got all different kinds of ones of these. Takamizawa made a whole bunch of them. Watanabe made a whole bunch. And Uchida down in Kyoto, they made a lot of them. They come up here on auctions now and then, but these days they don't go cheaply anymore. They go expensive because people really want these things. So. And we'll, of course, it's on our list for scanning to go into our collection. We haven't worked our way down to the collection this far yet. They're called Junjōzuri. Junjōzuri. Process. The English titles are usually process of woodblock printmaking. If you were Googling or searching on eBay, process woodblock print or something, would find these things. And they're rare in Japan because most of them are bought by foreigners. They're most commonly found overseas, in Europe or in America. Okay, there we go. What's today? Today is Saturday. I'll be back here again Monday morning. I'm not sure. I will be doing one of two things. The dragonfly is now done for me. I may be back on the Two Boys print, or I may be, by Monday, I may be starting work on the first print in next year's subscription series. We're not going to announce that until November, but you will be able to see the first one taking shape, so you'll have a head start at seeing what that thing is going to look like. Okay, I'm out of here. Thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you Monday morning. Those of you who care to come back. Bye-bye for now. Thanks very much. See you soon.